Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a stream that I did the other day, where I called it "Why I'm an Idiot," and that was a topic. It was all fun and games, right? But I wanted to bring this back up and go into it a little bit more in depth because I spoke about before why I'm hard on myself, and a lot of people they'll say, "Oh, you're too hard on yourself. You need a hug, like you need to slow down and stuff like that." But there's the reason that I would say like, okay, why I'm in quote unquote idiot is because of the success that it brings. The learning opportunity that it brings. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Going to have a full breakdown of what I learned from that troubleshooting experience to how it benefits me in everything else that I do, and figuring things out in life, on the job, on the mats, for whatever it is I'm doing. So let's get started. Before we do that, if you haven't done so already, do me a big favor on your way in. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time that we go live and drop new content, as well as if you need to work with me one-on-one, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev. You can sign up for the Patreon, sign up for a membership. We can chat back and forth. You can sign up. You can join us on our live presentations that we do, or our live trainings, as well as sign up for one-on-one coaching with me. But that's at www.techcoachralph.dev. Right now, let's get into the topic of discussion. So last week, I named part of the stream. I spoke about like why I'm a quote unquote idiot, and that was like tongue in cheek, fun and games, because part of the coaching plan that I have with the Tech Barbarians, we're building a app, right, so that they can get some practical real world experience, which I don't believe many places that we go to learn actually give us. Whether it's an online course or a boot camp or something like that. So I put a system in place so that they can actually build a real app. It's going to be out there. They can actually show it. They can talk about it, whatever. Right now, I'm doing like the developer and the project manager roles in this app building, and I had to deploy the application, and I deployed it. Everything went through, but the application was not working, and I'm like, why is this thing not working? It was driving me absolutely crazy. So tons and tons of investigation. Did some changes, and it's just not working for me. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And then I'm doing some more troubleshooting, asking some questions, and then as I'm experimenting more, trying to replicate, because it wasn't happening. See, that's the problem. It was happening to me on the cloud on AWS, but I'm not able to replicate it locally on my own development. When I started up locally, I'm like, what is going on? So then I'm like, all right, let me try to troubleshoot this a little bit more. Maybe it's an issue with the way that I have the credentials configured. So because I'm trying to see data to see what's going on. So I said, all right, what if I remove authentication from this one endpoint? Because one of the endpoints that doesn't have authentication is working perfectly fine. I said, okay, what if I remove authentication, right? So I remove authentication, and now that endpoint works fine. So I'm like, okay, something is up. And so then I'm like, all right. So when I remove the authentication altogether, or I keep the authentication, but I don't pass in the information, the username, then I get the same error. I'm like, oh, now we're onto something, right? And so I'm troubleshooting. I'm great at troubleshooting, right? Finding out what the root causes of something. So then I move forward and I say, okay, it hits me at that point, at that moment. I figured out I messed up. I realized that I didn't actually pass in the credentials for the username and password, like the environment variables. I didn't pass in the environment variables. That was my mistake. And it was like so basic, right? Because and that's something that I've constantly been going with. Like when I'm passing, like when we're setting up the environments, and I don't send all the environment variables to the Tech Barbarians who are doing the testing. And I'm like, oh, okay, God, that was so dumb. That was so dumb. So now I say, okay, I quickly open up Terraform. I pass in the environment variables. I restart the app. I didn't even have to redeploy that. I just restarted the app, and boom, the API is working, right? And to me, I found that like a couple of things. I found that like it was dumb. It was stupid. I should have seen that from a mile away, right? But there's also a learning experience, and it also gives me the opportunity to work on my troubleshooting. And people can say, okay, well, how come you didn't have tests to find this? Well, this isn't a testing situation because all the tests were passing, but the problem was that the deployment configuration was not done well, right? So now, if we dial it back to why so this is why I said that I'm an idiot because of this silly, simple mistake. And you know, it's on this app, like no crazy. It's not like for like a major company, nothing serious, right? And the app was still able to work without these variables because we're not using the API. Now we are, right? So why did I want to bring this up again? Well, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because when I talk about the way that I guess treat myself and react to myself and how I am like very focused and straightforward and stuff like that. And when I make a mistake, I have no problem calling out my mistakes. I have no problem being hard on myself, saying, "Oh, that was dumb, right? That was stupid. You should have caught that," because I want to be great. I want to be the best. And now, if we contrast that with, it's not contrasting with somebody who doesn't want to be great or doesn't want to be the best, but contrast that with the opportunity that me being so focused on this type of stuff helps me in other ways. So the other day at work, right? Something is not like pretty much our one of our testing frameworks is not working. One of our suites that we run is not working. And I'm like, and I didn't have much time to focus on it because we were working on other things. And the things that we're working on, it didn't really rely on it. But one of my coworkers, like they really, like they were like, it couldn't, they were looking into it. They couldn't figure it out. Right. And I'm like, all right. So once I got into a good spot with what I was working on, I was like, all right, let me go look into it because they were at wit's end. And I said, all right, this is like, I'm not really seeing what's going on with this, why that's happening. But I'm like, all right, so my first thing was, how can I replicate this locally? And I figured out some things that we were doing wrong and I was able to replicate it. And then I said, okay, so now that I have this running locally, can I get the same error that we're getting, right? So I ended up getting the same error. And I'm like, okay, but this is the same error, but it doesn't tell us what exactly is wrong. So it turns out that the underlying error was under another layer for a new package that we're using that had to be upgraded and all this crazy stuff, right? But the thing is, I was able to figure out the problem because I am hard on myself. I'm like, oh yeah, as I said in the past, be hard on yourself, but also celebrate your wins. And once I was able to figure this out, I felt great. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. So this is working now, and I'm like, all right, cool, move on. We figured it out. No more crisis, cool. And I think that a lot of times, like we quit so easily because we are not hard on ourselves. You know, I don't care about my feelings. I care about being successful, about being victorious. So if it takes me beating myself up, see me, I don't beat other people up because people should beat up themselves. And if you want to work with me and you're not hard on yourself and you're not pushing for, you're not say, okay, I got to get it, I got to figure it out, I don't quit, then that's on you. And I probably don't want to work with you anyways. Making excuses after excuse after excuse. I don't get down with excuses. That's one of my allergies. My biggest allergy is excuses. My only allergy is excuses and complaining, right? I'm like, all right. So I structure myself so I can be like very tough with myself so that I can have those successes, I can have those celebrations, I can have those victories. I think it's unfortunate that people are so easy to quit because they get discouraged. I, I, and then it's like, and then when you find out that it's like, oh, it was something so simple, it was something so basic. I remember like 15 years ago, we're in 2024, maybe even longer, maybe like 17 years ago, right? I was like, I'm trying to figure something out in code that I'm not even familiar with. and we're just trying to get something to work. And we would be up, right? Me and a friend of mine would be up to like 2 o'clock in the morning, troubleshooting code, trying to make things work. And like I would sometimes I wouldn't even go to sleep because I need to figure out what the problem is, and then I would always figure it out. You know, it, ever since I was a child, like you know, swapping out different computer parts, trying to like wanting to understand more, having that mindset, that desire to grow, to learn, to succeed. And then when you find out something easy, like, oh, you idiot, come on. But I don't get down. I don't get sad. I don't get happy. I don't get sad. I'm just like just cool, even keel, right? Because I care more about the success than about how I feel about the success. If that makes any sense, right? I remember in prior jiu-jitsu competitions, when I would win, I'm like, cool. When I would lose, I'd be like, cool. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like so, I remember because for me, it's all about the like being there in the moment, wanting like defining what winning is to me, right? And I'm like, all right, getting there, competing, win, cool, on to the next. Lose, cool, on to the next. Always going forward, not like never being satisfied, never being discouraged. I don't get discouraged like that. The, the only one of the things that discourage me just a little bit, right? It's when I see what people should be doing for their growth and their development, and they're doing the opposite, or they're not doing anything at all. But other than that, I don't get discouraged because my failure today is going to lead to my success tomorrow. Simple as that. Simple principle. My failure today is going to lead to my success tomorrow. And that is what I always look for. So you see me like, oh, I'm an idiot because of this and that, whatever. But now, what did I get out of that? What did I get out of that? Not passing in the environment variables. I got okay, cool. I created some sources on the backlog. We need to create some. We need to create some better. We need to update the documentation, a better README file on what environment variables are required. Create a checklist, a deployment checklist that makes sure that we have all these things in place once we're deploying. And like all maybe part of the acceptance criteria should be: did we update the README to any new changes that are happening? API documentation. We've been doing API documentation live streams for the past 3 weeks now, right? Just wrap that up. But those simple mistakes lead to opportunity to be more clearer and concise, and to be more organized. So while I'm like, oh, you idiot, this like talking to myself, oh, you idiot, like you should have known this. Cool, great, but I didn't, and now I learn more, and now we have well documented ways to approach things. See, everything is a learning opportunity. You might have to go through the swamp, through the mud, in order to figure out how to get things to work the right way. A lot of times we just don't like to get dirty. We don't like to get our hands dirty. We don't like to get our feet dirty. I'm like, if I have to jump in and figure it out, then I'm gonna have to figure it out. I don't I don't like asking for for help like that because I need to figure it out on my own. So that once I figure it out, now I know what the actual problem was, and we have a way forward. It might take me a long time. It took me a week and a half to find that, oh, it was something very, very basic that needed to be done. Passing the environment variables, duh. But that refines your troubleshooting skills. So, what is the victory in wasting a week and a half to find out that you need to pass in the environment variables to something that I already know? Because we pass in the environment variables for other stuff. The benefit is that number one, it enhances your troubleshooting skills. It gives you a where you're not, it exposes the flaws in your processes, helps you build templates. You know, always include this in the acceptance criteria. Make sure your documentation is up to date. Make sure your API documentation is up to date. All these things are necessary. So, and then it also leads to, when you are in crunch time, in the mix of things, what are your strategies? What did you use to figure something else out? How does it relate to what you're working on now? What type of troubleshooting strategies that you can do? Because a lot of times it all comes down to troubleshooting. It all comes down to troubleshooting and how good of a job you're going to do with that. How can you identify what the problem is? You know? So, didn't want to be on here for too long. I just wanted to break down why and how I'm hard on myself, and how as well that leads to continuous wins for me. I don't even like the wins. Great, cool. I just keep moving forward because win or lose, right? In jiu-jitsu, we have a saying: there are no losses. You either win or you learn. And I apply that to everything. Everything that I'm doing, I apply that. I either win or I learn. I prefer to win and learn, but if I don't win, I'm definitely going to learn something. And I'm going to come back even better the next time. And I say that you think of that way. Be tough on yourself. Have fun with yourself, right? Because when I'm tough on myself, like as soon as I figure it out, we move forward. Oh, you idiot. All right, cool. Next. You go into war with yourself, and then you end up winning anyways. You learn, you win, you get it right, you move on. No time for being depressed, being a Debbie Downer, like, oh, this is so hard, I want to quit. If you saw the amount of people that I've seen quit, you wouldn't even believe it. With me, I don't quit. I keep it moving forward. The agile methodology, make it work, make it better. That is what we do here, right? But that is my thoughts for today. Shorter than normal, which I actually like it a little bit shorter. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live and drop new content. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev. Sign up there. Let's get it. Let's run it up. On that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph with another episode of Candid Conversations. We are out.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.